Hey guys, so I'm trying out a new microphone, by the way, so if the audio is a bit different in this video or it's terrible, sorry, but that's due to the experimental mic. And if you hear a sound like this, that's me refueling on coffee. So what I'm doing today, I just want to make a little script for Ardour. So I'll open Ardour and I'll show you what the problem is that I'm trying to solve. I'll just make a new session on the desktop. I'll just call that temp. And I need to import some samples. I'll just import something from Woodwinds. Doesn't matter too much. So, let's see. So we've got, okay, yeah, this will do. So I'm just going to slice this about here just so I'm not dealing with as much. Okay, so one of the things I do when I'm editing samples, one of the first things I do is I slice up the samples. So this is a session that has been taken directly from a recording session. It hasn't been processed yet. I think it's had a bit of noise removal, but other than that, no processing. So I want to slice it up, and in Ardour there's a auto slicing tool. There's two of them actually, and I've got to remember which one I want. I think it's strip silence. I think that's the one I want. Yeah. Okay, so this is the strip silence tool, and you can see the purple bits are the bits it's going to remove. And there's some settings here that can be played with, but actually that looks like it's going to be, for this particular session, that looks like it's going to do fine. So I'm going to hit apply, and it's sliced it up. Now, what I'd like to do, first of all, I'm going to highlight all these. I'm just going to load in, I'm going to go to the scripting, and I've actually got a script. Have I loaded in this one? Yeah. Let's run that. There's probably going to be an error actually, if I recall. Yeah, because I changed this for the new version of Ardour. Where is it? So this is a little script that I wrote, and it just spaces the selected regions. So each of these is a region. So it just spaces them evenly with a given interval. But I modified it for Ardour 6, and there's one thing that changed between Ardour 6, this variable nominal, or function nominal sample rate. That's what it is in Ardour 6, and in Ardour 5 it's nominal frame rate. So anyway, so that's changed now, and I'll just save this. Okay, so yeah, I'll just space it over the, let's do it more than, let's do 2 seconds apart. Okay, so each region is now 2 seconds apart. So this is what the problem is. When you use the auto slice, you end up with all these little tiny regions that are like a fraction of a second long. But you have to go through and you have to select them and you have to delete them. And that takes time, and it's a waste of time really when I could get a script to do that for me. So let's undo that. So my goal today is to create a script that allows me to select all the regions in an area like this, or maybe actually just let it select all the regions on a track. Do a whole track at once. I have less control with that, but maybe anyway, it lets me select a selection of some kind, either a track or the regions, and lets me put in a threshold. So I don't know how long these are, but they can't be more than a few milliseconds, I'm guessing. Let's see, can we find some information about them? Properties, where's properties? So the length, look at that, 0.082. And is that frames or seconds? What is that? What scale are we on? Hours, minutes. That must be like milliseconds or something. Anyway, whatever it is. Really short, so it lets me put in a threshold and it will select all of the really short samples And I don't think I'll have it delete them. I think I'll still have to press the delete key. I could make it delete them, but I'd like to be able to review the selection before it deletes them. And that way, if there are any mistakes, like it selects one that I don't want it to select for whatever reason, maybe I have a particularly short sample, then I can just unselect that one and then hit delete manually. I think I'd prefer that little bit of manual control, but most of the time I'll just be able to hit delete. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay, so that's the plan for today. So we're going to need the scripting window open, and we're going to want this to be empty. So this is where I will load the script and test it, but on my other screen is where I'm going to write the script. So scripts in Ardour are written in Lua, which is it's quite a simple scripting language. You can extend it with libraries and things. But it's the same scripting language that's used in Reaper, but Reaper has its own version of it, if you like. Basically, with Lua, you have a sort of standard set of functions and functionality, and then each developer who wants to incorporate Lua as a scripting language into their program can adapt it to work for their program. So let me see. So I need to go into the config files. Config and Ardour 5 script, and then we're going to make a new script, and I need to give it a name. What's it doing? It's going to select by a threshold, I guess. We'll call it select by threshold for now. I might change that. Select by threshold, and I'm going to open this in Atom. If you don't know Atom, it's like Sublime Text, except it's free software. And it's not really as good as Sublime Text in terms of efficiency and speed. Sublime Text is really lightning fast, but it's got all the same features. In fact, it's probably got more features than Sublime Text. So that's my editor of choice 99% of the time. If I'm working in Contact, I'll use Sublime Text because it's got the Contact add-on. And as far as I know, there isn't such an add-on for Atom yet. Okay, so yeah, this is an Ardour script, and this is going to be an editor action script. So it has this little header at the top of every Ardour script, and you have to tell it the type of script, editor action. You have to give it a name. I call it select by threshold. I'll stick with that name for now, but I don't know if that's the one I'll keep. Select by threshold. License MIT. Yeah, author, that's me. Description of what it does, selects regions below the given time threshold. Okay. And then I'm going to clear out all of this from there, because I've just duplicated my previous script. So this is now an empty script. So this is how you start off. So every Ardour script has to return, every Ardour editor action script has to return a function called factory, and that returns another function. And you put your code in here, and if you want something to be persistent within an Ardour session, you put it here, so outside of the inner function. And I might end up using that today, maybe, I don't know. Okay, and the other thing I need is the Ardour API. So just search that. Here it is. So this is it's like the instruction manual. Nope, not that one. Class reference. So this tells me all the functions that I have available that are specific to Ardour. And there's loads of them, and some of them for the newer version of Ardour, which isn't available yet. It's the version they're currently developing, Ardour 6. Those aren't listed here, but I have used those in other scripts, and those scripts only work in Ardour 6 or a modified version of Ardour 5.12, I think it is, the new one is, like the latest. Let's see, I think it's 5.12, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to need to have my other script open, this one, the one that I used to space all the regions, And this is just going to be my reference. I can come in here and cannibalize bits of code that I need to copy over. So I wonder if I can do like should I do a split screen or... no, I'll have them as two separate tabs. I'll just switch between the tabs. So the first thing I need to do is get all... Well, I've got to decide, do I want all the selected regions or just the... or all the regions on the selected track? I'm just going to think about that for a moment and sip my coffee. No, I like the idea of having more control, so if I have to select the regions, then I have more control. So, yeah, okay, we'll do it with selected regions. So we're going to need to get the current selection of the editor and the selected regions from that current selection. So that's this thing. Just copy that over nice and quick. Let's see, we're going to need a prompt, a little dialogue to pop up, and we can enter in the time threshold. Or maybe I should automate it. Maybe a prompt isn't needed because they are all really short. So maybe the threshold could be built in. I'll leave the prompt for now. We'll use a hard-coded threshold. I might add the prompt in later. Let's see, what else do we want? I'm actually going to edit this because I don't need that in here. That was some benchmarking stuff I left in. Okay. So we want to go through, we want to loop through the regions that are selected. And we've got the selected regions here, cell regions. We want to loop through those using an iterator, and then we want to check the length of it, and if it's below the threshold we want to... No, since we're going with selected regions, we want, if it's above the threshold, we want to deselect it. So we're only left with the selected regions. Okay, so we're going to need a for loop. Actually, I can just copy this because I had this previously. There we go, for region. Oh, this is... Oh, okay, that's a loop. Where's region? Okay. Iterate over each region. That's for the selected track. We don't want that, so I will just do that. Okay, so we've got a for loop. Rather than having region, we'll just have R, and we want it to iterate over the selected regions, which is cell regions, and iterate over selected regions. So a comment in Ardour, in Lua, as you can see, is 2 dashes, and then you can write your comment. I think if you're doing a comment, like a block comment, you do 2 dashes and then 2 square braces, something like that. And then you can close it with a couple of square braces. So we're going... So cell regions, selected regions, that's going to return an object, and we're using the... regions.regionList. So we're iterating over a region list object. So if I go to the Ardour guide, there is region list. So this is the region list object that we've got, which is a collection of all the selected regions in this particular case. And we should have a... Yeah, there we go. So we've got this thing called Lua iter. And iter just means iterate. So it just means have a look at one, then have a look at the next one, then have a look at the next one. So we're just iterating through them. And rather than using a dot and then a function name like you do in so many languages, for some reason in Lua you use a colon, and I always forget that. Here there is a dot. That's because we're looking at a sub-object. So we're looking at the selections regions object, but then to call a function, you use a colon. I always make mistakes with that. Okay, so we need to look at the length. So we need to say if the R... I don't know what it is, but I'll put r.length for now because it'll be something like that, is greater than the threshold, which we haven't defined, then deselect region. I'm just writing this out in a kind of pseudocode, and then I'll fill it in afterwards, then I'll put end. Okay, so that's should be pretty much the entire functionality we need. So we need to declare a threshold, so we'll have a local variable, and Now, how long do we want this to be? I still haven't worked out if that was milliseconds or seconds or frames or whatever. Well, it definitely wasn't seconds. Let's have a look at this again. Okay, so length, that's not tempo. What is that? Is that seconds? Milliseconds? That can't be hours, minutes, and seconds, can it? Maybe it is. Let's have a look at one of these longer ones. Where's the properties? Oh, properties. Okay. Alright, okay, so it must be second. Oh. Yeah, seconds, milliseconds, microseconds. No, that's. What is it? Frames? It's definitely not minutes, because this is not minutes long, it's seconds long. I'm just going to time the damn thing. Where's my stopwatch? Let's see, because this must be about 3 seconds long. Okay, that was close to 7 seconds. So it must be frames or something, which is annoying. Let's see if I can change that so it gives me it in milliseconds, because then I'll have a better idea of what I'm dealing with. Nothing in here to change it, is there? Ah, okay, brilliant. Timecode beats minutes, seconds. There we go. Okay. So will my length function return minutes or seconds? That's a good point. Okay, so we want to have the threshold be Right, let's first of all get our length function. So I've typed in length there, but I don't know what the function is actually called. So it's region, and we want the length. Oh, it is actually length, and it's a property. So I think the first thing to do is just get the script to give me the length of a selected region. So let's start with that. Let's output the selected region's length, and then I'll be able to see how Lua is dealing with it. So I'll just comment that out for now. Comment. You might have seen me mention this before, but getting data to print to the screen in whatever language you're using is one of the most important functions you can find. In Lua, you just type print, and then you type in the thing you want it to display. But it really is. I use it all the time for debugging. And some languages which don't have any advanced debugging tools, this is pretty much your only way of seeing what's going on internally with variables. So it's very important. I've put dot length. Let me see, do I need a colon for it? It says a function. Or is it a constant? It'll return a oh, it is a function, so it should be colon length with parentheses like that, I believe. So I'll copy this, paste it into my script, wherever that's gone. There it is. And then it should, because I've only got one selected, one of these regions selected, it should just give me the length of that region down here in the console. Okay, 341329. What is that? Is that frames, seconds? Let's have a look. Time code, it's not time code. Bars, beats. Is that it? 3 foot, no, it's not bars and beats. Samples, it's probably samples, isn't it? There we go, 341329. Okay, so it's samples, which is annoying. I'd rather it was in a sort of time format. I could convert it, but I can't be bothered. So let's just see what a short one is. Go with this one because I want it to be about that. So this one in samples. Actually, I don't need to do that. I've got my function to do it. There we go. So we'll use that as our threshold for now. 14981. Good. So that's the if statement. So I want if region length is greater than the threshold, then deselect the region. So do we have a function to deselect? That was something I hadn't checked. The Lua language in Ardour is quite limited in many ways, so I often find I'm having to do things in a way that I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to do. So I'm not seeing any way to deselect. Let's see, set start, set position. Okay, so we want these set things, set hidden. Set. I'm not seeing a set selection or anything like that. Okay, let's have a look at the audio region. Methods. Darn, that might be a problem. Might have to do it in a different way. Let's see. Select. Is selected. Okay. Select. So I'm just searching through the page now for the word select. Set region selection after split. Is selected, set select. What's this? Root group. No, that doesn't help. Group by selected count. Selected. Deselect all. That's not what we want, but deselect is good, I suppose. Selection, get selection. Okay, a selection. Maybe we can change something in the selection class. Clear all, clear everything from selection. Clear everything from the selection is the clear function, then there's clear all. What's the difference? Check if all selections are empty. Mark selection, region selection. Region list. Table. Nope. So that doesn't help. Region list pointer. Let's carry on through this searching. Selection. Set selection. Selection list. So look at that. Selectable. Base class for objects with auto disconnection. Trackable. Blah 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 blah. Selection. That brings me back to that. Selection list. Let's go back. I will find a way to do this. Region selection. Region list. Start. Class to represent list of selected regions. Yeah, but how do I deselect? Selection list. I've looked at that already. Select program. Yeah, it's got region selection after split behavior, but that's not what I want. Selection options. Selection op.toggle. I didn't look for anything like toggling when I was looking at regions, so could be something in there. Let's go back to the region selection, region list, region. Let's have one more look down here. Anything like toggle. Natural version automatic can move. Set start, set sync. Region list again. Audio region has nothing useful. Oh, inherited from region. Oh, okay, those are the same ones. Yeah. So, that's disappointing. This is a problem I keep coming up against in Ardour, and I asked on the Ardour IRC channel. I asked some of the Ardour developers a question the other day, and one of the guys there, one of the regulars, he responded, and he basically said that Ardour wasn't designed with scripting in mind, and this is the kind of thing that I keep coming up against. And I think basically they sort of retrofitted the scripting into Ardour. It's really good for a lot of the things, but there are limitations. So the other thing you can do is you can trigger one of the sort of built-in actions from a script. So I'm hoping there's going to be a deselect action. If not, I'm going to have to think of another way of doing this. So let's just search the built-in actions, deselect. Deselect all. Ah, that's no good. Okay, I'm gonna have to think of another way of doing this, because I just want to deselect certain ones. What about? Okay, I could do it the other way around and select them instead. It's a bit more fiddly. We then have to go through all of them that are selected and make a new list of the selected ones that we want. I'll tell you what, it might just be easier rather than selecting the ones that are at the threshold. If maybe there's a delete action, maybe I can just delete them. It's not what I wanted. I wanted more control over it, but if we can delete it, then I'll go with that. Those are the only delete ones. Okay. Variant property list that does not delete. Remove region. Ah, okay. Session object pointer name. Okay, playlist, yep. Add region, combine. Ah. A named object associated with a session. Objects derived from this class are expected to be destroyed. Alright, so that's a playlist. So could I make a new... No, I couldn't make a new playlist, but I could remove those. Region out, region touch, region's end, split. So I could just remove the region and pass it in. So I'd have to have a playlist object, which I've got a playlist object, haven't I? Region list, isn't that a playlist, region list? No, it's not. Okay, it's a separate thing. Okay, so I need to get a playlist from the track. Oh, this is going to be annoying. So I have to get the track, get the track's playlist, get the regions on the track that are selected, and then remove the regions from the playlist. Okay, well I can do that because I essentially did that for this script. So we get, we iterate over all the tracks in the session. Yep, I've got the script for that already. There it is. And that gives me a root object. And then we want to get the track. And if the track doesn't have any objects on it, then we we have this. If the track is nil, that means there's nothing there. Go to continue, and continue is this thing here. So we just exit basically. Exit this cycle of the loop. So there's that continue thing. And then region list. So this is where we get the tracks playlist, yeah. So this is the thing I need to remove the regions from. So get the playlist. Reset for each track. That's for something else, don't need that. Playlist, region list, so we get the regions for the playlist. Get playlists regions. Oops, bit of space there. So basically where we were using just the selected regions before, I'm not going to be able to go along with that anymore. I'm going to have to just do all the regions on the track, which is not ideal, and I might try and work out a better way of doing this. I'll talk to the guys on the IRC as well, see if there's a better way of doing it, but it's going to work. We'll get the same functionality, just not as much control. And then we need to iterate over the regions in the region list, so we've already got the code for that, so I'll paste that in. So the region list is just RL now. We can get rid of this one. And then we're back to where we were. So if R is over the threshold, then we can delete the region. So we go to the playlist, which is called playlist. We go to, what was the function called? Remove region. And then we just pass in the region object, I think. The one that we're iterating over, so that's R. And that should do it. Assuming there are no other bugs in there that I've missed. Let's try it. So this will do it for the whole track. So let's get rid of you, open you, paste it in. Ah, yeah. Okay, it worked, but it got rid of the ones that are longer. Of course it did, because I didn't do the thing. Oh, bugger. Yeah, and also, this is another horrible thing about Ardour. The undo handling in the scripting is not very good. It's quite limited. And since I haven't put any undo handling into the script, I now can't undo that move I just did. So I'm just going to have to re-import the audio and cut it again. And then I'm going to add the undo handling into the script. Well, I'm going to attempt to add it because the last time I tried it, it didn't work. And again, that was another thing I asked about on the Ardour IRC. And they basically said, yeah, it's not very good. So let's import that audio again. Slice it again. Oops. Also split it again. At least this process is quite quick. And then I'm going to set this action up on a hotkey. Let's see, filters, space regions, add. So up here we've got, there's only 8 displayed, but you can have up to 10 buttons. You can't do custom toolbars or anything like you can in Reaper, but you have 10 buttons that you can assign your scripts to, and 10 is plenty for me, so, for sample editing at least. So there we go, I've assigned my little script to this. There we go. Right. I'm going to add the undo behavior because that is important, but also we need to flip this symbol around so it's no longer greater than, it's less than. So anything shorter than or equal to the threshold we will delete. And now the undo behavior, see, if I go to, let's see if I can find it, undo. So the, yeah, it's all this stuff. So the documentation isn't very good for this undoing business, undo, redo. You have to have this stateful diff. So basically what it does is you give it an object, and then when you make a change to the object, you give it an object again, and it compares it, and it goes, something's changed, we'll make a note of those changes. So that's a sensible way to do it, but there's no real explanation of that in this documentation, but I've pieced it together from other scripts that I found. So basically I'm just going to copy it across because I can't really remember it. And you have to attach this whole undo command stuff to the session, and the thing where it looks at the difference between things that have changed can only be applied to certain elements. So for instance, I was writing a script that changed the names of markers. You can't add an undo thing to that at all. It doesn't do anything. but you can with a playlist, so that's going to do for us. So we'll put that here. We're going to start our undo thing, and we'll call it, just give it the same name, what do I call it, select by threshold. Which I'm going to have to change that now to something like delete by threshold, but that's okay. So we're saying, for the session, the Ardour session, so this whole thing is a session, which gives us a session object. Oh, there's a car alarm going off. I wonder if this new mic will pick that up. If it does, I'm sorry, but hopefully it'll stop soon. So we've got a little variable add undo. This is just a flag, so we can keep track of anything that's changed. And then when we the playlist, we have to prepare it for undoingness. So I've got the playlist that we grabbed from the track. We have to so we take the playlist variable that we made, and we run this function to stateful clear changes. Don't worry about that, it's just something we've got to do. And then when we actually make a change to our region, when we've deleted regions and things, I think I'll do it after the loop through the region list. I might have to put it in there, but this is basically where we do the little check. So we do a check and we say, has something in the playlist changed? And if it has, then we say add undo equals true. Add undo is our little flag we've got here. So we're setting it to true. We're saying something has changed, and then after all this looping, we'll deal with that thing that's changed. So I'm going to copy this and put it right at the end after our loops. I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. So I'm running this collect garbage thing. It just does some memory cleanup. Don't worry about that. So here's this thing, if add undo, so that's our function we had here, our variable, our flag variable that we had here. If undo, that means something's changed, so we commit all the changes, and if nothing's changed, then we just abort the undo process. Hopefully this will work. Like I say, it's not very good, but let's try it. So I'll paste it in. And now when I run this, it should delete all these short little ones. Hey, that worked. Didn't delete that one, so I might have to adjust my threshold or add a slider in or something. I think I'll probably do that. Yeah, there's some more there that I probably want to delete. So let's see if the undo thing worked. Edit, undo. Hey, it worked. Brilliant. Okay, I'm very happy with that. Does the redo work? Okay, I think I can live with this. It does do the whole track, whereas I'd just like it to do the selected regions. I can actually get it to do the selected regions. But yeah, if I run this, even though I've only selected these regions, it's going to apply to the whole track. In fact, it's going to apply to it's going to go through every single track. Yeah. I could actually make it so it doesn't do every single track, but it's quite good. If you've got to do in every track, it's good because then you can handle multiple tracks at once. I could also make it go through the selected regions of each track. That's what I did for that space regions thing, so I'm going to leave it just doing all the regions on a track for now. And yeah, I'll live with that for now. Okay, so the next thing is to make this threshold variable so you can move a slider to change it. And the way we do that is with a dialog. And if I go to the documentation, somewhere, I'm sure there's a GitHub link. I don't know what it's called. I'll just type it into the search. So Ardour scripts GitHub. It'll be something like that. So these are all the example scripts basically, which is pretty much where I got all the information I have about scripting. So this one, dialog test. This one shows you all the different types of dialogues you can use. So a dialogue is any sort of pop-up which allows the user to interact. And what I want is a slider. Now, I've already got all the code in here for making a dialogue and running it, so I'm just going to copy that stuff. So prompt the user for interval that says, but we'll just change that slightly. So see, where'd I put that? Okay, so I'll put it in here before the undo stuff, right? Okay, so prompt the user for input, I'll change that. And the regions, again, I'm going to change the name of this script because it's no longer select by threshold, it's going to be delete by threshold across all tracks or something. So I'm declaring a Lua dialog and passing in dialog options, which is going to be an object. Here it is, prompt settings. Let's put that in, call it prompt settings, dialog options is the name of the object. And this is set up to take a number, but I want it to be a slider, so that's what I'm going to copy from here. Slider, type slider. So this is the stuff I need to make it into a slider, so let's have a look. So type has to be slider. Key. So key is just like the name, I'm guessing. So I'll call it threshold. I have used this before, but I can't remember exactly what it is. So the title, that's what will appear to the user. Threshold, and it's going to be in samples because I can't be bothered to convert it to seconds. I might add a conversion in later because dealing with samples isn't as user friendly. So the minimum and the maximum. Well, I don't want to put 0 as the minimum, so let's just put like 100 samples. And the maximum, we won't want to go much higher than that really, so maybe, I don't know, 25,000 for now. We can always change it later. Step 1, digits, I'm not sure what the digits thing is. Oh, hang on, that's from my other one. Yeah, get rid of that. Now we'll still use this as a default, so actually I'll put 15,000 as a default. 3. Don't want scale points, okay, so I can get rid of that now. Min, max, scale points, okay. So now it's going to pop up a dialog to the user. And the way we're doing that actually is we're calling this function OD_run. So OD is the dialog we've got here. And run is the function to display it, and whatever the user selects is going to be stored in this RV variable. If I go back to my other script, so that's what I want, dialog response. So if there's a response from the user, then do all this stuff and end there. Yeah, so if there's a response from the user, and we don't need our threshold variable anymore because we can just get that directly from this RV response. And because we call the slider threshold, we gave it the key threshold, we can just put in here where we've got threshold, we can just put RV.threshold. I think that's going to work. And then I think everything else is going to be the same. Is there any other cleanup to do? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, OD equals nil, just to clean up that that variable afterwards. 2, yeah. Okay, that's looking good. There's no need for that to be on 3 lines when 1 will do. So this is the dialog options, which determines the layout of the dialog, and then within it, it's a Lua object. So within it, you could have multiple sliders. So you declare them like that if you're having multiple sliders, and they don't all have to be sliders. You can have buttons and input boxes and things like that. But since I've only got one, I'm just going to put it all on one line. Okay, prompt for input, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Okay, that looks good. Let's copy that and see if this works. So I'll run that, and then there's a slider. I don't know if I can make that bigger because that default size is horrible. So I'll have to see if there's a way to make that bigger. But anyway, there's a slider. We can select the number of samples. There doesn't seem to be a way to restore to the default value. So if I put the threshold at 100, it's probably, if there are any that are like that small, there'll be a few deletions, but it probably won't delete anything. Yeah, they're all greater than 100 samples. And then, yeah, let's see if there's a way I can change that. So 15,000, let's make that a bit bigger. And that should have deleted most of them, but there's a few stragglers, so I'll run the script again. And we'll try it at like 22,000. So that still hasn't got rid of them. So I'm just experimenting to sort of find out where the ideal threshold is going to be. Okay. So we need it to go higher than 25,000. So I'll just experiment directly in here. The max. Let's put in 50,000 for the max for now. Let's try a 40. That's close, but I've still got these ones left behind. So let's just try it at the maximum 50. No, so I want to take that higher still. Take it up to 100,000. Let's try it at the max. Okay, that did it. So I don't think I've deleted anything I didn't want to delete. Yeah, so okay, that's pretty good. We have almost a success, and then what I'd do is I'd reposition these a couple of seconds apart. So I mean that's pretty good. There's one there I'd have to delete manually. Reposition again. So that's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with that. So there's two improvements I'd like to make. One is I wouldn't like it to delete them automatically. I'd still like it just to select or deselect, whichever. Just so I'm left with the ones that I might want to delete, and then I can review them and then press the delete key. I'd like that. It doesn't seem like that's going to be possible. The other thing I'd like it to do is only to act on the regions I've selected. That I can do because I've done that already with my spacing regions script. So like this one, it goes through every track, but it actually only acts on the selected regions. But it's more complicated to implement. And that's gone weird. Oh yeah, the undo doesn't work properly for that script. That's why. So yeah, so it's more complicated to implement, and I might do that anyway. I might implement it, but I'm not going to do it today. I'm quite happy with where I'm at today, but yeah, I think I'll improve it in the future, so it only works on regions that are selected. But you'll be able to select regions across multiple tracks, so that's quite good as well. Yeah, so it's like a 90% success, so I'm quite happy with that. Oh, I need to come up with a name for it. Select by threshold. I'm just going to change that to delete by threshold. So I'm going to select all instances and call it delete by threshold. Oh, and the other improvement I want to make is instead of it being samples, I'd like it to be milliseconds, but I don't care too much about that at the moment. So yeah, that's quite satisfactory. Nice little script that'll help me with editing samples. We might do another video where we modify it, but that's quite good. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope this little behind the scenes, just watching me do something I'll be doing anyway, is entertaining to some of you and perhaps informative, and maybe I'll give you a bit of encouragement to have a look at Lua and explore the scripting options in Ardour. So I'm going to go now and finish my coffee, and then I'm going to play around with this some more and make sure that there's no bugs that I missed. Alright guys, see you next time.